Hi, and welcome to English-Fabule. Are you learning English? Great. Let's learn English with a very interesting story. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. Let's get started.
It was November 18, 2025, a very important day in Washington, D.C. The White House was ready for a special visitor. President Donald Trump was there to welcome Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, often called MBS. This was a big moment. It was the first time MBS had visited the White House in over 7 years, showing a new start for the two countries. There were military bands playing music, soldiers stood tall. The whole event looked very grand, full of ceremony and importance. Then came the big news. President Trump announced a massive investment. Saudi Arabia agreed to invest almost $1 trillion in the United States. $1 trillion is a truly staggering sum of money. Many people watched with excitement. They imagined this money would create many new jobs across America and make the U.S. economy stronger than ever. The idea of such a huge amount of wealth flowing into the country was thrilling for many. However, not everyone felt so positive. Some people were skeptical. They had questions. Was this $1 trillion deal truly real? Would all that money actually arrive? Or was it more like a big public show, meant to look good but not truly change things? These questions began to circulate in the news and among experts. This agreement held great importance for several reasons. For the United States, it promised a boost to the economy, new technologies, and many more jobs. It could help American businesses grow and innovate. For the Middle East, the deal could greatly influence stability in the region. It might lead to new alliances or deepen old rivalries, affecting peace for millions. The promises in the deal were wide-ranging. They included Saudi Arabia buying advanced F-35 fighter jets and building new, powerful data centers for artificial intelligence in America. There were also discussions about energy and mining. Importantly, the meeting touched on the sensitive topic of Saudi Arabia possibly forming closer ties with Israel. This book will take a close look at this $1 trillion arrangement. We will investigate whether this huge financial promise is a genuine economic opportunity for the United States. Or is it mostly a political statement designed to show power and influence? We aim to understand if this ambitious deal will truly bring lasting benefits to the American economy and contribute to a more stable Middle East. 2. The big meeting in Washington. On November 18, 2025, a very important meeting took place in Washington, D.C. President Donald Trump welcomed Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman to the White House. This visit was special because it was the Crown Prince's first time at the White House in over 7 years. It showed that the relationship between the two countries was much better now after a long time of difficulties. The White House prepared a grand welcome for the Crown Prince. Military bands played music and soldiers stood with honor. There were special guards on horses. Later that evening, a formal dinner was held in the East Room of the White House. Everything was very fancy and important, like a big party for a special guest. During a talk in the Oval Office, President Trump shared big news. He announced that Saudi Arabia agreed to invest a large amount of money in the United States. He said this investment would increase from $600 billion to almost $1 trillion. It was a huge sum of money. The Crown Prince, Mohammed bin Salman, spoke clearly. He said, "I believe, Mr. President, today and tomorrow we can announce that we are going to increase that $600 billion to almost $1 trillion for real investment." President Trump showed his excitement. He called the Crown Prince his friend and even joked that he would try to make the investment even bigger, perhaps a full $1 trillion. Their words showed a very warm and friendly relationship between the two leaders. After the announcement, many people in America heard the news. They were very happy and excited. They hoped that this massive amount of money would come into the country. People believed it would create many new jobs and help build new businesses. It was seen as a promise of great wealth coming to the United States. The day was full of big hopes for the future of both countries and their partnership. 3. Buying planes and technology. The New Deal between the United States and Saudi Arabia included many important items. A big part of it focused on advanced technology. The two countries agreed to a strategic artificial intelligence partnership. This means they will work together on advanced computer chips. The main goal is for Saudi Arabia to become a major center for AI technology. Saudi Arabia has good conditions for this, like land, energy, and a useful location. This partnership is very important for Saudi Arabia's future economic plans. Elon Musk's company, XAI, made a big announcement. It will build a very large data center in Saudi Arabia using powerful computer chips from NVIDIA. Also, Amazon said it would build an AI zone data center in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia's capital. Amazon also promised to train 100,000 Saudi citizens in cloud computing. Other tech companies like Cisco, Adobe, and AMD are also working with a Saudi AI firm. They plan to develop more AI computer systems by 2030. This shows a strong focus on new technologies. The agreement also included military sales. President Donald Trump confirmed that the United States would sell advanced F-35 fighter jets to Saudi Arabia. This was a very big change in U.S. policy. These special stealth aircraft were mostly sold only to America's closest allies. In the Middle East, Israel was the only country with them. Saudi Arabia plans to buy at least 48 F-35 planes. Each one costs a lot of money, between $80 and $100 million. Beyond the planes, the defense package included other items. Saudi Arabia also agreed to buy nearly 300 U.S. tanks. This was part of a larger security cooperation plan. President Trump also announced that he was giving Saudi Arabia a special title, Major Non-NATO Ally. This helps Saudi Arabia get U.S. military equipment and sales more quickly. It makes buying advanced defense systems easier for them. Another key part of these agreements was about energy and natural resources. The U.S. Department of Energy and Saudi Arabia's Ministry of Energy signed a cooperation agreement. They will focus on new ideas and projects for energy. Also, the Ministry of Industry and Mineral Resources and the U.S. Department of Energy agreed to work together on mining. These agreements are important. They will help Saudi Arabia grow its economy in new ways and become less reliant on just oil. This supports a more diverse future for the country. 4. Does the prince have the money? After President Donald Trump and Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman spoke about a $1 trillion deal, a big question came up. Does Saudi Arabia truly have all this money readily available? A close look at Saudi Arabia's financial health reveals a more complicated situation than the large number suggests. Despite being the world's biggest oil exporter, Saudi Arabia often spends more money than it earns. This is known as a budget deficit. Financial experts have predicted that these deficits will likely continue for several years, possibly until 2030. For example, in 2025, the country's expected budget shortfall was around $65 billion. This figure was much higher than what was first planned for the year. This large deficit shows the country's spending exceeds its income. A key reason for this heavy spending is Saudi Arabia's ambitious plan for the future, called Vision 2030. This plan aims to make the country's economy less dependent on oil. It includes many huge projects, such as building the futuristic megacity called Neom. These projects require immense funding, estimated to be about $3 trillion between 2019 and 2030. This amount is roughly 3 times the country's total economic output in a year, putting a significant strain on its budget. To comfortably pay for all its government services and projects, Saudi Arabia needs the price of oil to be quite high, usually around $100 per barrel. However, global oil prices often stay below this crucial level. When oil prices are low, the kingdom does not earn enough money from its oil sales to balance its national budget. This means they need to find other ways to fund their plans. Because of these financial gaps, Saudi Arabia has had to rely more on borrowing money. The Public Investment Fund, which is the country's main wealth fund used for many of these investments, has sought large loans. For instance, it secured a $15 billion credit line in 2025. This reliance on debt suggests that while the kingdom has significant wealth, it does not have unlimited cash for all its domestic ambitions and international promises. So, while the announcement of a $1 trillion investment deal sounded incredibly powerful, the reality of Saudi Arabia's finances shows ongoing budget deficits, huge costs for domestic projects, and a need to borrow. The promise of such a massive investment needs to be seen against these fiscal challenges. 5. Israel and the new planes. The United States made a big decision. It agreed to sell F-35 fighter jets to Saudi Arabia. These are very modern and powerful planes. Before this, Israel was the only country in the Middle East that had them. This sale was a new step, changing how military power was seen in the region. The F-35 is not just a fast jet, it is also a flying computer that can collect a lot of secret information, making it very valuable for defense. Israel had strong concerns about the F-35 jets going to Saudi Arabia. Israel always worked to keep its military strength greater than other countries in the area. This is called its qualitative military edge. Israeli officials worried that if Saudi Arabia had these advanced planes, Israel's special advantage would be smaller. They felt that such a powerful tool could change the balance of power. An Israeli official noted that an F-35 could fly from Saudi Arabia to Israel in just a few minutes, which added to their worry about security. Israel believed that selling these jets without a peace agreement with Saudi Arabia first was a missed chance for diplomacy. President Donald Trump hoped this deal would also help with peace. He wanted Saudi Arabia to join the Abraham Accords. These accords are agreements where Arab countries make peace with Israel. Trump believed that giving Saudi Arabia these military planes and other strong partnerships would encourage them to normalize relations with Israel. He felt that Saudi Arabia had good feelings about the accords and would join them fairly shortly. But Saudi Arabia had a clear condition for such a peace agreement. Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman said Saudi Arabia would only normalize relations with Israel if there was a clear path to create a Palestinian state. He stated they wanted a two-state solution, meaning a state for Palestinians next to Israel, with East Jerusalem as its capital. This was a very important point for Saudi Arabia, and they would not move forward without it. This situation created a complex triangle of relations between Washington, Riyadh, and Jerusalem. The United States wanted to sell the planes and also hoped for peace between Saudi Arabia and Israel. Israel worried about its own safety and military lead, while also wanting new friends in the region. Saudi Arabia wanted the advanced planes, but also wanted a fair future for Palestinians. The sale of advanced weapons like the F-35 also brought a big risk. It could make other countries in the Middle East want to buy more powerful weapons. This could start an arms race, meaning more countries would buy more weapons, making the whole region less stable and more dangerous for everyone. Everyone watched to see what would happen next with these new planes and old problems. 6. The death of the writer. The visit of Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman to the White House in November 2025 was a big moment. It ended a long period where diplomatic ties were strained. This tension was mainly due to the killing of journalist Jamal Khashoggi in 2018. Khashoggi was murdered at the Saudi consulate in Istanbul, Turkey. U.S. intelligence agencies had stated that the Crown Prince had ordered the killing. This event deeply affected relations between the two countries for several years. During the press conference, a reporter brought up Khashoggi's death. It created an awkward moment in the Oval Office. President Donald Trump quickly spoke to defend the Crown Prince. He said that Khashoggi was someone a lot of people didn't like. He also insisted that the Crown Prince knew nothing about it. President Trump then criticized the reporter, calling them a terrible person. He said the question had humiliated his guest. Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman also gave his own response to the question. He stated that it was truly painful to hear about anyone losing their life without justification or in an unlawful manner. He added that the event had also been distressing for people in Saudi Arabia. He confirmed that Saudi Arabia had taken steps to investigate and improve its systems to prevent similar incidents in the future. This exchange showed a clear conflict. There were strong human rights concerns linked to the journalist's death, but there was also a huge economic and strategic partnership to consider. The U.S. had previously faced calls to hold Saudi Arabia accountable for human rights issues. For example, the Biden administration had limited some military aid in the past because of these concerns. However, during this meeting, the Trump administration made a different choice. It appeared they were prioritizing the $1 trillion investment and the deeper relationship with Saudi Arabia. The need for the big deal and strategic cooperation took precedence. This meant moving beyond the diplomatic freezes and past difficulties caused by Khashoggi's killing. The goal was to secure the massive economic benefits and new alliances. 7. Waiting for the money. The announcement of $1 trillion in investments created much excitement. However, people soon began to understand something important. This money would not arrive all at once. Experts explained that the $1 trillion would actually come over many years, perhaps even decades. It was not a quick payment, but a long-term plan for new businesses and projects. To put this into perspective, if $1 trillion is invested over 5 years, it means about $200 billion each year. Over a 10-year period, it averages $100 billion annually. If the investments are spread over even longer, which seems likely, the yearly impact becomes much smaller. This shows that the deal is not about an immediate cash flood, but a steady flow over a very long time. History shows that big investment announcements do not always happen exactly as planned. Many times, these large numbers include projects that are still being planned or deals that might change later. Sometimes, money that was already going to be spent gets counted in these new announcements, making it harder to see how much new money is actually flowing in right away. Some past promises of investment, even from previous administrations, did not fully happen as first stated. There is often a big difference between what is announced in headlines and what truly becomes cash or real projects on the ground. One big concern for the United States involves technology. Some parts of the deal include selling advanced American technology to Saudi Arabia. The U.S. has worries because Saudi Arabia also has growing business connections with China. If sensitive American technology could somehow reach China through these links, it would be a serious security problem for the U.S. Because of these worries, the flow of some high-tech investments and equipment might be slow or carefully controlled. This adds another layer of complexity to the wait for the money. So, while the initial news created much excitement, the actual process of these investments will be much slower and more complex. The grand announcement made by President Donald Trump and Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman and the daily reality of making these deals happen are two different things. It means a long wait for the promised money to fully arrive and turn into jobs and projects across America. 8. Conclusion. This chapter looks back at the big agreement made between the United States and Saudi Arabia in late 2025. President Donald Trump and Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman announced many important plans. They spoke about a $1 trillion investment. This huge number was meant to show a strong new partnership. The agreement had two main parts: economic deals and military cooperation. Saudi Arabia promised to invest a lot of money in American companies. These investments were aimed at new technology like artificial intelligence and building new data centers. The country also planned to buy advanced F-35 fighter jets and other military equipment from the U.S. The goal was to boost the U.S. economy and help Saudi Arabia develop its own economy beyond just oil. It was also hoped to make the Middle East more stable. However, the deal also came with many questions and possible problems. One big question was about Saudi Arabia's money. Could the country really afford to spend $1 trillion? Reports showed that Saudi Arabia had its own money challenges, like budget deficits. Also, this large sum of money would not come right away. Experts said it would take many years or even decades for these investments to fully happen. Another concern was about the advanced F-35 planes. Selling these jets to Saudi Arabia could change the balance of power in the Middle East. Israel, a close U.S. ally, was worried about this. The deal also aimed to encourage Saudi Arabia to make peace with Israel. But this was a difficult goal due to the ongoing issues with Palestine. The past also cast a shadow over the deal. The killing of Jamal Khashoggi, a journalist, in 2018 was a difficult memory for many. This made some people question the U.S. government's decision to form such a close bond with the Crown Prince. In summary, this agreement is a big, ambitious plan for both countries. It holds the promise of economic growth and stronger alliances. But it also has clear financial challenges and complex political risks in the Middle East. It is a big diplomatic bet. Only time will tell if this deal will lead to a new era of peace and wealth, or if it will face many problems. What do you think will be the most important outcome of this deal?
Hey there! Just a second before you go. If you learned something new today, please give this video a like, write your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel. It only takes a second, and it really, really helps to create even better English videos for you. Your support means the world. Thank you.